Oh, hello. Turning down this music because, as we all know, I get very distracted by music. So we're gonna turn that right off. Hi, everybody. Hello. Yes. This is probably the I can't remember the last time I did like a winged eye look. It's been a really long time. Hi folks, welcome to Clinic Hours. Today it will be hosted by me, Jorik. I'm not Jorik. I am Elizabeth. Hello, and I'm here to talk about Good Society meets Gothic Society meets Profit meets a 2-part game that we're going to be starting this Sunday. We're going to take it into next Sunday, and that's it. So folks may have been around for the Good Society game that we played some years back, and that was a single session game. So now we've expanded it to 2, and we've also given it a little bit of a twist. And I'll talk about that twist once I've greeted everybody. Hello, we have Crosshair. Hello. We have Biff the Bouse. We have A-OK. We have Ellie Spot. Weirdness. Hi, folksy doksies. Hello. Thank you for being here tonight. And we have a John. I don't know what kind of show this is. I'm asking myself that right now. So I was like, oh, Liz, you can talk for 2 hours. Of course you can. I'm used to Scott being here to banter. It's weird being alone. How do you do it? Scott just offered to do off-camera banter, which I really appreciate. And maybe we'll take him up on that later. So, let's dive right into this. Oh my god. Never mind. Never mind, we're not. Look at this fucking thing. Anyway, hey, this invisible book is called Good Society. As you can see, it's a very limited edition. Because it's limited in its form. It's a ghost book. So that's a lovely green book. And it is by Story Brewers RPG. Good Society, it was a game that was designed by Haley Gordon and V. Hendro. And there's some folks based out of Australia. And if you want to know more about the game, you could watch the one that RPGClinic streamed, or you could also go to Story Brewers YouTube channel because they have a playlist around like how to play the game, and they even have a live play, and they've been really good about like retweeting and promoting other live plays. I know they did that for us when we did it. But what we're doing is something a little bit different. We are doing a add-on, a game inspired by Good Society, a game that uses the same basic system as Good Society, but with a dark, twisty twist. It is called Gothic Society. And I'm sure this is going to look terrible when I switch it over. Oh, look at that. How beauteous. I'll go back to that when I have something to show. So Gothic Society, much in a similar vein to Good Society, can take place in Regency times. It can take place in Victorian times. You can make it a sort of more nebulous time period if you want. It's a game about romance. It's a game about marriage, about wealth, about missed connections, about betrayal and scandal and friendships torn asunder, all that good stuff. But Gothic Society then takes themes from Gothic stories. I know. So inspiration from, say, Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, the Brontes, any of them. And so you end up with a much darker game. You end up with a game that might just have some murder, might just have some curses, might have dark hallways and twisty stairwells and candelabras and phantoms in the opera and all of that. So if Good Society takes place at 2:00 on a sunny afternoon in a croquet pitch, then Gothic Society takes place at 1:00 in the morning. It's pitch black and you are wandering the mist-covered moors. So that's kind of the difference between the two. But a lot of the themes do overlap. It's just Gothic Society ends up getting a little bit darker. Yes, it's Good Society, but make it foggy nighttime. Indeed. Oh, I should also mention we've got featured chat on. So if you have a question, you can do the !Q and then write your question in. And I can put that up on the screen. And who knows? Maybe it'll look good. Maybe it won't. But what I want to do today is get everybody kind of prepared for how this game works, because it's very unlike any other RPG system that I've ever done. Because the emphasis, I know we say this all the time, that the emphasis is on story. That's something that RPGClinic is all about. But in this case, I have not found a system more than Good Society, and by extension Gothic Society, where it's not us versus them. It's not us responding to what the storyteller has put forward. It's not us at odds in that way. It really is everybody at the table working together to create, in Good Society's case, a Jane Austen-esque story. And in Gothic Society's case, a macabre, dark, twisted tale, maybe a novella, which is kind of what we're going to be doing with our 2-session thing. Some Sleepy Hollow action, maybe. Weirdness says, sounds like when I go and visit my mum. She already lives in Whitby. It's just vampires and moors up there. Exactly. Does she want to, I don't know, tell me creepy names to use? Do people use creepy names in Whitby? Yes. Thank you, Beth the Boss. This is true. And also, I might just see what you have to say, and I might put your question up on the chat anyway. But if you do !Q, you're automatically added to the queue. So, the first thing that you do after you have read the book and decided that you want to run a game of Good Society, by the way, the books are all available in digital format as well as in print. I just really wanted a hard copy. Is you decide if you're going to run this game with a facilitator or not. A facilitator is not exactly like a storyteller in this game, or a DM. They're kind of more like a referee stage manager type. So they are the ones who guide people through the cycle of play. That's what it's called. And I'll walk you through the different steps of a cycle in a moment. And they're also the ones that kind of monitor how long a scene has been going on for. They help set the scene. Maybe they offer suggestions, but really then it's all about the players jumping on that all together, working together to weave this tale and to set the scene. And everyone plays a major character, but they also play minor characters in other people's stories. So you really are working together to tell this tale as one. So I think there's a story involving Dracula and the ruined abbey there. Okay, that sounds amazing though. So, like, did Dracula appear at the ruined abbey? Did Dracula ruin the abbey? I need to know. Weirdness, if you get more details, please do tell. Because I would really like to hear this. Once you've decided on whether or not you're using a facilitator, because you also don't have to use one, everyone can all work together to determine the appropriate lengths of scenes and to play the extra characters, the extra NPCs, if you will, that are on the side. Once you've decided that, then you move on to the backstory and collaboration parts of it. And that is when you build your characters. That's when you create your world. And I will say, full disclosure, that the folks who are playing this Gothic Society game, which will be myself as facilitator, we have John, we have Jess, and we have Scott. We have not had our session 0 backstory collaboration day yet. That's actually going to be on Saturday, right before. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work between Saturday morning and Sunday evening to put the game together. But I can still walk you through the rules of the game and how it works. So the first thing is, let's talk about what a cycle of play looks like. And I am going to hope... yeah, this looks okay. Not bad. Yeah, this will have to be good enough. Of course, Jess is back because after we played Good Society, Jess and I were talking about it, and we were kind of looking up information about the system, and we found out that, lo and behold, there was this like add-on called Gothic Society. And Jess was like, I need to play this. I said, okay. So the first thing, thank you folks for talking. Hello, King. Happy to hear about your interest in the game. Yeah, as folks are saying, this particular group has already been set, but all of the play materials are available online, and I'm also going to like walk people through a little bit about what a game of Good Society or Gothic Society could look like, so you can find a group of people to play with if you want to. How does the game work? So you have your group of friends. You start by answering I make it as a questionnaire on what kind of game you want to go for. What kind of tone are you looking for? So the Good Society rules say that you should choose between romantic comedy, drama or farce. Romantic comedy has some drama, some humor, and there's a lot of romance elements to it. Farce leans very heavy into comedy. Drama leans very heavily into drama. The Gothic Society people suggest that you make the tone drama because that suits the system better. And it does. So when I was contacting the players, I said, hey folks, if you're okay with it, I would propose that we do this as drama. And they all said, cool. So that's what we're going forward with. From there, no, this is just novel chapters. So from there, people choose, the first thing that they do is actually not choose a character. And in fact, when you go into the collaboration and backstory, you should try to be as open-minded as possible about what kind of character you want to play, because you're kind of playing, you're sort of playing an archetype in a Jane Austen story, or in this case, in a Gothic story. And the first thing that you choose is a desire. And I have the cards that I also got, but again, all available online. And these are examples like, what is right to be done cannot be done too soon. Restore your reputation and be forgiven by your former friend. Once you enjoyed the pleasures of friendly company and good opinion, until in a single instant, your mad passions led you to throw it all away. In one rash act, you wronged another deeply and plunged yourself into interminable despair and disrepute. Now all you seek is to bury your past, regain your good name, and find forgiveness. Create and spread a rumor about what you did. Start with one extra negative reputation tag and one extra resolve token. So when you're sitting down, there will be a selection of desire cards in front of you on the table, and then you would choose the desire card that most appealed to you. That is the first step to creating a character. You go from the inside out. And this is kind of similar to other games, right? What do you want? Once you figure out what you want, what your heart wants more than anything, then you work outwards. So you select your desire card. Everyone at the table takes one. And then the desire cards are matched automatically with a relationship card, sometimes more than one. So examples of that would be best of friends, old family friend, siblings, object of affection, stuff like that. So you have your desire card, you have your relationship card, which let's say it's best of friends. You give that to another player at the table in the backstory phase, and they become your best friend. So they put that card in front of them. You've created a relationship. You've forged a relationship. And the same thing happens with the other people at the table. You want to try to avoid two people just swapping relationship cards because that makes their story more insular. It's hard to involve the other people at the table. But that is a really cool thing that they've established to solidify relationships right off the bat. So even if you're beginning the game at like a ball or something, you still know who your best friend is. You still know who the person that you scorned is. You know who the person whose engagement you turned down is. Yeah, I agree, Beth the Boss. I agree. Hi, reading aloud. Irma Gerd. Girths. Yes. So, that is your desire relationship. Then you choose your person, and these are from character cards. I'm a little more lax with these because it's really to help guide you if you have absolutely no idea about who you want to play, but usually the folks that I play with have a pretty solid sense, especially after they've chosen their desire and relationships. So I would just use one of these cards to like show what my character looks like, but the name and stuff is totally unnecessary. So this is Anna, for example. And there are two sides to these cards. So Anna is a nature lover with a large family, cheerful, sprightly, and rarely found indoors. Middle child, far more focused on natural sciences than on marriage, much to her mother's chagrin. And then on the other side, it's cheerful, curious, and rarely sits still, lives in anticipation of the next ball or evening party, lover of nature in all its forms. So you choose the side that most appeals to you. Boom, you've got a major character, a desire, and a relationship going forward. You also have connections. So in this case, this would be somebody like... this would be someone like an aunt who you really need to impress if you want to be kept in her will, or your superior in the army, or your this is somebody who holds your fortunes and your fate in their hands quite often. So it's usually somebody who can like really screw you over if, say, they don't like the person that you have fallen in love with, or if they don't like the fact that you're secretly penniless, or that you're a gambler and squandered away the fortune, all of that. So you establish that, and then somebody else at the table gets to play that person. So you spend a bit of time coming up with this connection, and then you hand off the reins to someone else. And then everybody does that. So by the end, everyone has a major character, they have a desire, they have a relationship, at least one, and they have a connection or two that's being played by somebody else. And the facilitator takes on any extra characters that need to be commandeered, that need to be steered at any given time. Okay. Gothic Society has an added element. Let me scroll down to get it. La 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 la. There's a lot of new things about Gothic Society, but the thing that I want to highlight specifically is the evil antagonist. So, when you are in the collaboration phase, along with, hey, what kind of tone do we want to play? How historically accurate do we want to make this game? Are we playing with like traditional patriarchal settings? Are we doing a gender reversal, or are we doing any gender can own property, can inherit estates and that kind of stuff? Once you've gotten through all of that, you also need to talk about the evil antagonist. And the way I'm going to do this on Saturday, so that if my players are reading this and they're starting to come up with ideas, is I'm going to randomly assign questions to people, and we're just going to answer them on the fly. Because creating the evil is also supposed to be a collaborative group experience. It's very exciting stuff. And it's actually supposed to be quite nebulous. So, as you can see, the questions are not that, like, specific. It's not, what is the evil? What does the evil look like? It's, when did they first appear? What foretold the coming of the evil? Who denies its existence? All of that kind of stuff. So this gives people fodder to use in conversation, and then the more that you speak and the more that you engage with the world in the game itself, the evil starts to take shape. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it becomes this kind of like cloudy, unseen force that everyone is terrified of, but they can't really name it. They can't really identify it. There's some great examples of that in something like, say, The Hound of the Baskervilles, where everybody speaks of this thing, but does anyone actually see it? That kind of stuff. So I'm really excited for Saturday. We're going to find out what kind of evil this is, because the book also says that if you want, one of the players can play the evil antagonist. That can either be secret or known to the table. And I have to think a little bit on how I would make sure that that would stay secret if we're all having our collaboration over Zoom, but I will think on that more. You can also have the facilitator play the evil antagonist, or, as I was saying before, maybe no one plays it. Maybe it's more of a lingering curse or a sense of dread, that kind of stuff. So that, I believe, we've covered the meat and potatoes of making a character. And you're filling out your character role, and you've got your connections here, as I said, and inner conflict is really cool. That is when that's actually identified later on, after you've played about half of a cycle, is you identify what your character is in torment about, Is it a wealth versus love thing that they're struggling with? Is it a family versus fortune? Is it a love versus duty? That kind of thing. Comfort versus duty? All of that. So that is something that you identify later on in the cycle of play. What? This, here we go. We got a question. How does it look? Oh yeah. Can the big bad evil also be a concept, such as everyone's been dealing with the common folk, the poors as it were, but everyone is afraid of it coming out in public? It needs to be something that has actual menace to it. So if they're afraid of, say, like farmers coming after them, there has to be a reason why. Is it that they're afraid that they've been possessed by something? Like, was there a bad crop that possessed them and they're now coming after the wealthy? Is that like, it doesn't have to be real or not, but people have to believe in something, that they need to be able to name fears. Because if you can't, then the threat isn't going to seem as real. So that would be my recommendation there. If someone suggested that, I would say, okay, but what specifically? No, it does not need to be an individual. It could be like, oh, the plague. It can be the plague. I would probably suggest some variation of the plague to make it a bit more supernatural. But yeah. So you've all sat down, and you are ready to play. A cycle of play begins always with a novel chapter. Now, a novel chapter, that is when the meat and potatoes of the role-playing happens. And a novel chapter can fall into different types. So it can be an event, it can be a visitation, or a split. What does that mean? Well, for your very first novel chapter at the beginning of your first game, it should always be an event. And it's exactly as it sounds. You identify an event that all of these major characters would be in attendance at. And you play out a large group event. Visitation is one-on-one visits. So people would say, my character, Charlotte, would really like to visit with Lady Thorne. She would like to invite her ladyship over for tea and express her interest in marrying her son, Charles, whatever. So that would be a visitation. And then whoever plays Lady Thorne would be like, yep, sounds good. High five. And that would be one of the scenes that you play out. And everyone would do that. So everybody would have a visitation scene. I hear something crinkling and I can't tell if it's a cat who's gotten into plastic or if it's Scott putting something into the fire. Oh, it stopped. It was you. Everything's fine. Hi, Jess. We have Jess here. Hello. So in our case, the first novel chapter, all right, this is anyone who's playing on Sunday is going to kind of get a look into what I'm thinking. So when I put out my questionnaire and asked folks about tone and historical accuracy and all of that, I also put out hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not interested, 5 being very interested, how do you feel about the following Gothic works? What were some examples? Frankenstein, Dracula, Hound of the Baskervilles, Edgar Allan Poe, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, Phantom of the Opera. And people expressed the most interest in the themes and settings present in Jane Eyre and Dracula. So, as a result, I want to be creating a sense of isolation. I would like to have a sprawling, opulent estate where a lot of people are present for some reason. I have a few ideas. But maybe it's the middle of winter. Maybe they're snowed in and they have to spend the weekend there. So that's kind of the main idea that I'm gonna pitch to the players. But other options could be a more desolate area of a town, say. Maybe everybody has left because they fear an illness and there are only a few people remaining. So then it could take place in a more urban setting, but still with that sense of isolation. Those classic themes of bigamy and people in the attic. I mean, da 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 da. Whoo! Ow! And Jess is a werewolf. That wasn't secret information, was it, Jess? No, it's fine. So those are some ideas. And then in terms of the actual event, there can be things like a ball. Someone invited you. You don't know who. Or maybe you are there for a weekend-long wake. Somebody very, very wealthy has passed away, and they've invited their most beloved acquaintances to their estate to pay homage to them. Maybe it's an estate sale. They need to clear out this mansion, this almost castle, of all of its stuff, and everyone is kind of hovering around like vultures. Maybe it's a murder investigation. So I got a couple of ideas, and on Saturday I'm going to see if anything kind of appeals to the players, to see where they're at. How many times has Jess suggested it be a werewolf-themed get-together? To their credit, Jess, I would say you have not done that yet for this one. Not that that would be wrong. Absolutely not. But I think your interests are falling in a slightly different direction, and that makes me very excited. I had this mind picture of a bunch of family members and associates coming together for a wake and fight over the inheritance that hasn't been announced. I mean, that's pretty classic. And then I like the idea that because like for some reason they have to stay the night, because it's one of those estates that's really remote and it takes like maybe a full day's ride in carriage. So people are here, and the very first novel chapter is an event, and it is everyone gathering for blank. Fantastic. There's a whole lot of role playing, and that's where most of the time is going to be sunk into. Next, we have reputation. So in that case, you are really just looking at how your character behaved in the novel chapter before and seeing if they did things to either promote or take away from their current standing in society in terms of reputation. And Gothic Society is quick to point out that people might start collecting negative reputation tags really quickly because typically in these games, people start behaving badly right away. So that's exciting to look forward to. Next, we have the rumor and scandal stage, and that is when you go around the circle twice, switching directions, to create or spread a rumor. So it could be something like Jess's fortune was lost at sea and they are broke. So say I choose to start that rumor, then Scott might be like, oh yeah, that would be great because Jess is courting the person that I'm after. So I want to spread that rumor so that person won't want to marry Jess. And you're like, okay, fantastic. So Scott spreads the rumor, and that means that it is like reached a higher like level of, like, everyone's talking about it. If nobody spreads the rumor, then that means that it fades away at the next rumor and scandal phase. But in this case, because we're only playing 2 cycles, it's really just about introducing rumors that's going to help throw fuel into the fire of role playing. Woo! Okay. So that's that. You've got your reputation, you've got your rumors. Next is epistolary stage. Write up to 2 letters from a major character or connection. Everybody at the table, it's exactly as it sounds. They can write and send up to 2 letters, either from one of the connections they control or from themselves to somebody else at the table, or a connection, or someone played by the facilitator. It is one of my favorite parts of the game because I can't think of another one that does that. It's like, hey, You're gonna send a secret note in the middle of the night to someone who's staying in another wing of this estate, and like, it's pretty steamy. That's what I secretly hope happens. Yes, I agree, Biv the Boss. Love an RPG that forces you to write letters. It's so good. And there's other stuff that you can do in that same vein, but I'm going to get back to that in a second. So after epistolary, boom, you're back at a novel chapter. So this is still cycle number 1, remember, but now there's another novel chapter. So it can be another event, or it can be a visitation, or it can be a split, some visitation and an event. Define the details all as a group, set the scene, start the play. Boom. Reputation, same thing. You check to see where your character's reputation is currently at in society. Take that into account for play moving forward. Then epistolary, more letters, and then upkeep. Wait a minute, what does this say? Use any remaining monologue tokens, then refresh. What's a monologue token? Well, at the beginning of the cycle, everybody has a little token that represents a monologue token. And at any time during the novel chapter, so whether you're doing visitations, whether you're doing events, or some combination of the two, you can say, hey, I would like to hear your inner thoughts right now. And you can extend the monologue token to the player in question, and then it's kind of like the world freezes and a spotlight falls on them, and they just like say what's going through their heads. Nobody else hears it, and you can't use this information. You can't meta use this information, but it's more of a fun like soliloquy to the audience in that instance. So really cool. And everybody has a token that they can sort of coerce, compel a monologue out of somebody else. Now, if you still have a token in front of you at the end of this cycle of play, then in that moment you have to play it. So you have to give it to somebody, and it can be something like, oh, Scott, I want to hear your thoughts about John's new puppy. And then Scott would be like, oh, the fur is so soft. It reminds me of the softness of my mother's embrace when I was a boy. God, I miss her so much. Like that kind of thing. Yeah, I know that was really Jane Austen's. Exactly, Osab. And hello, by the way. I know, I'm sorry, Scott. Let us hear your inner dialogue. A part of a play involving a soliloquy is just a moment where the character is alone on stage talking to the audience. That's it. The facilitator increases them. Oh yes, then you have resolve tokens. So you also make sure that everybody has reset, or in this case, increased their number of resolve tokens. Resolve tokens, different type of token from monologue. Everybody has them in front of them. And you can use that to, when we jokingly say, or seriously say, because it's the appropriate system, when we say, I'd like to establish a fact, it's kind of like that, but for characters specifically. So say we're all at dinner and Jess is boasting about the croquet match that they just won. And maybe I'm like, ooh, Jess, I would really like to say that your character is lying about having won this game, and that my character Charlotte, or whoever, because I'm giving everyone, that my character Liz saw you absolutely fall into a pond, and you're trying to play it off that you're great, but I saw it. And then Jess can be like, oh, okay, I like that, so I'm lying right now, and you know it. And I'm like, yes. If Jess agrees, that's after what's called the negotiation, then Jess takes my resolve token from me, and now Jess has more resolve tokens to spend as they see fit. Craigon, yeah, pretty much, because there's also a yes but, or there's a no maybe kind of thing worked into the negotiation. So I might be like, Jess, I think that I would really like your character to have lied and for me to have seen you. And Jess would be like, okay, I'm down that my character is lying, and that you saw me, but then I think when you were spying on me, you were standing in like a puddle of mud, and I'm going to call out that your petticoat is 6 inches deep in the mud. I'll be like, oh shit, okay, great. And if I accept that, then Jess still takes the resolve token. But Jess can also say, no, I really think that I'd be telling the truth. In which case, great. Then I take my resolve token back and play continues. So that is an example of resolve tokens being used to introduce different complications for the story. The person who takes the resolve token is always the one who would be kind of inconvenienced by this. 6 inches deep in mud. Thank you, Eric. Yes, you only saw me because you were in a compromising situation yourself. Exactly. I only saw you because I was turning into a werewolf in the bushes. Whoops. Or because I was currently being bitten or whatever. So that is that concept, which is really cool because it forces you to think before you just say something that could impact the story in a way that doesn't make sense. Now, if you're saying it's a sunny day, you don't need to spend a resolve token to suggest that the sun is shining. If you want to suggest that John's carriage overturned on the way to the ball, and therefore when he shows up, his petticoat is 6 inches deep in mud, then yeah, you'd have to offer John a resolve token and see if he accepts. So that's the facilitator's job, is to determine what is worthy of a resolve token and what isn't. Crosshair says, would another solution be my character wouldn't be lying, but I'm fine with your character claiming it? I think I would say yes. If then I was planning on announcing it to the whole dinner table. So if I was like, ooh, I would like to call Jess out on announcing it to the dinner table that you're lying. And Jess is like, well, my character is not lying, but I will take this resolve token because you're about to fuck me up in front of my betrothed. That kind of shit. My favorite thing about this game is how customizable it is and how different negotiations and different like collaborations and like different stories, they all just change drastically depending on the group. Because some groups I think can really use the reputation and the rumor and scandal phases to help move the story along. I am of the belief that we do enough damage ourselves. But I'm going to use the system this time. I didn't last time. I kind of glossed over it. But I feel like for 2 sessions, we can do it. It's cool. So, okay, that's upkeep. And then you review the collaboration. You look at your inner conflicts. So that's just like with reputation. You kind of look back at what your character was doing and whether or not that put you more in favor of one side of your inner conflict than the other. So like, oh, I was really, by kissing John behind the stable, I was really saying that I'm more into love than wealth because John is the gardener. Like something like that. So that would be like me ticking off the love box as opposed to the wealth box, which would be talking up Admiral Croft, who just came into a tremendous wealth. Woo! Fun boy, fetch me that pitcher. So that is 1 cycle. And if my time management skills serve me well, then this is going to complete 1 session. Like 1 entire cycle is going to take us 2.5 to 3 hours. And that will be on Sunday. And then we'll play a 2nd cycle the following week. And that will be it. The epilogue is, so if you're going through, like next week, for example, we're going to start novel, reputation. We're not going to do rumor and scandal because it'll be our last session. Epistolary, another novel, not a 2nd reputation. But the 2nd epistolary in the cycle is going to be the epilogue. And that's how the game comes to a conclusion. Whee! So that's it. I mean, bye. No. So that's that is a very, very, very basic overview of the system of good society. Having said that, it really kind of is that simple. And if you forget something, it is so easy to bullshit your way out of it, because you just roleplay. Like, if you forget to tick something on your reputation or forget to do the rumor and scandal phase, you'll be okay. There are no lasting consequences, and you're not even rolling dice. So yeah. Gothic Society is the same thing, except that it has the evil antagonist, as we talked about, and... oh yeah, there are agendas. This is something new. So agendas is basically randomly, people get to choose a card face down. They don't know what it is. And everyone looks at theirs. They don't show anybody else. And it shows whether you are aligned with the evil antagonist, the evil whoever that may be or whatever that may be, or if you're working against it. It's as easy as taking 4 red face cards and 4 black face cards, mixing them together and drawing them out. And you can make that hidden information, but you can also make that public if people are good at not using their meta knowledge in game. And I'm considering keeping that open, because I think our table knowing who was in League, but their character's not, could be really fun. So that is the agenda. I'm not going to do the evil clocks, because I don't think we need it. I think we can have enough of a sense of dread without. There's new desires and new relationships. I'll show you that. And the scientist, the detective, and the creature roles. So, okay. New desires. So this is going to really show the difference between, like, Good Society and Gothic Society. So, oh, hey, I'd like to play a game of Good Society. What is right to be done cannot be done too soon. Restore your reputation and be forgiven by your former friend. Gothic Society. I will therefore take occasion to assert that the higher powers of the reflective intellect are more decidedly and more usefully tasked by the unostentatious game of drafts than by the elaborate frivolity of chess. And then that's correct. Prove that your theories are correct. We gonna have drama. So I have to kind of link desire and relationship cards that tick as many of the interest boxes that people indicated on the questionnaire as possible, to put together a sort of game that people could be really excited about, and then people can pick desires and relationships that appeal to them and what they want to play. And then they all became Abyssal Exalted. So those are some new desire cards. Here's the collaboration sheet. So this is what I was saying before about the randomly assigned questions for the evil. Here we have some new character cards, character sheets. And I love how they're designed. Look at these fucking roses. You can't do Gothic without roses. I'm telling you. Look at this consulting detective. Oh, here, let me do that. So then they've got some examples for their appearance, their temperament, their connections. So these are possible connections that they could have. Got their inner conflict area here, and then their reputation tags. I don't know, Scott, can we suggest that? I mean, can we suggest that? Can I request Scott does the whole game speaking like Adam Warlock, speaking solely in complimentary comments to confuse and conflagrate the gathered Gothic comrades? Ooh. Okay. What are you hoping to get out of the experience as the facilitator? I feel like these games were made for me. So I love Jane Austen, and I love the Brontes, and I love Dracula and Frankenstein and Poe and Conan Doyle. So these represent two very present aspects of my interests and personalities. And these games were created with storytelling and collaboration involved. It's not a versus system. And there's no math, which I love. There's really like no pressure. If you are in a scene with someone and you're kind of at a loss as to what to do, I feel like the game is really open to being like, oh, okay, what everyone else at the table, what do you think Charlotte would do in this moment? What do you think Genevieve would do in this moment? And then everyone can kind of like suggest things, and because we're all working together to create a story. You're puppeting someone, but it's not. Yeah, I feel like you don't have that, oh, I gotta level up my character, I gotta min-max. There isn't that same kind of drive. So what do I hope to get out of it? I hope to get a great 2 sessions of role-playing. And I've never run anything that's like more in the Gothic bordering on horror vein, so I'm really excited to challenge myself as well. List, Bronte, Annie. There's no pressure, no math. It's like, it's great for me. I mean, Roger Twy, I am also hoping for a TPK every 10 minutes. We can do that. I feel like we could create new characters easily enough. That's another thing, which Gothic Society points out. If your character dies, because it is a very real possibility, no matter what is attacking or haunting the society at large, you could lose your character, your connection, or whatever. Just bring in a new one right away. Maybe it's someone who was always there. Maybe it's someone who's newly arrived in town. You just like pause for a second, quickly write something up. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Does anyone have any questions about the system? Ooh, oh, thank you, OSAB. Here we go. Put that up there. How much of an impact do you think your experience as an ST with Disconcordia will play into facilitating this one? I think being an ST for Disconcordia just got me more comfortable with playing multiple NPCs at the same time. I hadn't really had the opportunity to try that out before then, so I like to think in some ways I got better at multitasking. I was really good at not screwing up my Tupper box that much. I did sometimes, though. But for the most part, it was the correct person. But I don't think I would have been able to do that a few years ago. I think I would have been like, this is my character and that's it. So that was good practice. And the effectiveness of world building. I always knew that was a good thing, obviously. And being fortunate enough to have participated in so many games run by John, and more recently Scott, just shows how much of an impact somebody like taking the time to, weave together this world and this atmosphere, and it can go a long way. So in this case, we're all working together. So I think that I'm going to be trying to encourage that. Like, oh, you say there are, you say that the room is very dimly lit. Is that because there are wall sconces of candles all around the room, or is that because there's a single large chandelier, or there are candelabras on the table? Like that kind of stuff. And like just little bits and pieces that helps paint a picture. How much stolen Sandman material can we look forward to? I hadn't even thought of that. And now that I have, All of it. Yeah. What? Oh, okay. All right. What did you learn from facilitating good society that you might be bringing into Gothic Society? It was a long time ago. But I think I did learn, I learned the value of putting in a nice amount of time to coming up with a playlist that I really like. Because even though I'm not speaking with music right now, I find music does a lot to set the tone. And I remember I labeled the playlist with like, these songs would be appropriate for a dance. These songs would be appropriate for dinner. This would be appropriate for an afternoon picnic, that kind of stuff. So labeling them according to mood and where they could fit in was really helpful for me. So I think that's the biggest thing. But also just trusting that the players are fantastic. And I put a lot of like, I put a lot on myself in terms of like, if I'm not prepared, then we're screwed. But I also just need to remind myself that I'm playing with professionals and friends, and they're delightful, and it's just going to be okay. Not only that, it's going to be fucking fun. Yes, a long time. I also can't wait. I have to dive into epidemic sound. That is my that's my task for tomorrow, is burrow through epidemic sound and find things that I like. La 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 la. Ooh, this is apropos nothing, but you folks that like kind of creepy, I mean, I would say this is gothic, or if you're into the latest trend of dark academia, which is the thing that's blowing up on the old TikTok, then you should definitely check out Strange Horticulture. It was on sale when I bought it. Probably still is. It's on Steam. You play a horticulturist, apothecary, herbalist type person who owns her little shop. And there are puzzles, and there are mysteries, and there are a few different endings that you can have. So, and it's a pretty quick game. Highly recommend. It was a very fun couple of days that I was obsessed with it. Okay. Yeah, I actually have an answer for this. If your friends can be professional, that is the best. But you know how you could absolutely adore someone as a friend, but you would never, ever, ever want to be their roommate? And that doesn't mean that they're a bad roommate. It's that the two of you are incompatible as roommates. So if your friend and you are not compatible professionally, you shouldn't go into business together. Same thing. That doesn't mean that each of you separately would not be good at running a business. It just means that the two of you don't jive on the business way. So I think that if it's more important to be respectful when you're gaming together. Professional is good if you're streaming and you're trying to build a brand. But the most important thing is that everyone respects each other at the table. And if your friends don't respect each other, I mean, I'm not even going to go into that because that's a whole other thing. But like, it's really important that you respect each other at the table. And so I would say like professionalism and respect go at the top, followed by friendship, because ideally all three work together perfectly. Hello, I am professional friend. It's me. Hi. I'm a professional friend. It's me. Play time. Everybody agrees. What, Kung Fu Fenris? I'm singing Taylor Swift. What's wrong? Talked about this. Talked about this. Pacing your game. Yeah, talked about all that. Look how cute this book is. This is great. Talked about this. Talked about a little bit about this. I can't really go into too much detail because we haven't created our characters yet. So I can't even be like, Jess is creating this. It hasn't happened. I don't know, Kung Fu Fenris? That's up to everybody. I kind of hope so. Oh yeah, and this is where the questions come into play. So, drama, romantic, comedy, farce, history. The one thing do you mean, Crosshair, the one thing that is different from Good Society, or the thing that's the same? Oh, I think a lot of it is the same. I like the potential that things can get dark. But there's still the awesome, like, negotiation and consent system from Good Society. So you feel like you are taken care of and empowered to use this system. Having said that, having a session 0 with your players to determine what people's lines and veils are for Gothic Society is incredibly important. Because maybe 2 out of the 3 players really want vampires, but the third one really, really, really doesn't. Maybe it's a line for them. Then you all need to have a discussion. First of all, if you all want to play the same type of game. Second, like, if you don't have vampires, are the other 2 still going to have fun? And if the answer is yes, then fantastic. But you really should have all of that out in the open before you're like going into your first session and you're surprised by something. You don't want that, especially when you're streaming. It is a gritty reboot for Jane Austen. Yeah, things can get darker, but there's still the themes of love and romance. I mean, my God, Wuthering Heights had so much, I would say romance, but their relationship was a toxic time. But they were like, you know, tearing their hairs and wandering the hills, wailing about their love. It's very dramatic. Yeah, exactly, says reading aloud. Don't try and shoehorn an immortal blood cult last minute. Don't do that. But this game also, it's not like I'm secretly going, hee, I know this thing, and I'm going to surprise them. I'm not. We're all working together. I am proposing settings, and I'm helping to, time keep and guide people through the different phases. I'm reminding them of what constitutes a good use of a resolve token or not. Or I might be like, if Jess and Scott are having a scene and John wants to interrupt with a resolve token, I might be like, oh, just wait for a second. Let them go on a bit more and then go. But it's great. I'm not like, haha, I'll sure trick my players. No. Are there any other questions or comments that folks would want to know? Before I wrap things up, Reading Loud says, before the days of television, people needed to entertain themselves. Screaming into the fog-covered moors is so therapeutic. Not that I've done it. Reminds me of that scene in Garden State where they all like yell into the hole. Oh, this is a good question. Okay, well, I don't feel comfortable enough with my ability to homebrew games to put this in any system other than Good Society. Gothic Society was specifically made to go with Good Society. So that's why I'm choosing to do it. But if I wanted to do a kind of Gothic feel on another system, I mean, Blades in the Dark has the options for that, but honestly, I think like a Gothic changeling would be fucking cool, because I know vampires expected, but I think if you had people who were like used to changelings, so they already knew the system, and you were just doing like 2 sessions of that, I think there's some really like interesting potential there. It's one of those systems that I know relatively well as well, so I'd be more comfortable with it. Is there anything that you're hoping to see from the other players? Gothic changeling, all slew all the time. Exactly. Everyone's wearing like high-necked black lace. I mean, come on. Okay. Was there anything that I'm hoping to see from the other players? I hope people really lean in to the melodrama and the spooky atmosphere. And I hope that we behave badly. I hope everyone behaves badly, especially when the sun goes down. Oh, plus we have Max, our resident black cat, who's having his dinner right now. Or first he has to give a high five. There, good man. Oh, double high five. I know, Kung Fu Fenris, we do. And I'm sure there will still be goofiness, and I would never, ever, ever want to discourage that, because I am sometimes the biggest goof. So let's just say I hope we set up a world where we all feel comfortable getting a little more dramatique. But sometimes just by leaning hard into the drama, things get hilarious anyway. I think either way, I'm going to have a really good time. Exactly. In a farce, in a comedy, everyone takes themselves very seriously. That's the only way it works. No black, all roll necks and chinos. Yeah, well. Okie dokie. Oh god, I've got to put the music back on. Oh god. Here we go. There it is. We can pretend it was playing this whole time. Ooh, is there anything I would like from the viewers? Oh, featured chat. I like you a lot. Is there anything I would like from the viewers? Honestly, lean into it too. If people start getting dramatic and there's been, maybe there's a curse, maybe someone gets murdered, maybe someone vanishes, maybe something like, if one of us makes like a ridiculous facial expression or something, rather than being like, oh, look how weird our faces look at this time, like I guess I'm saying, like, don't be afraid to be foolish in the chat, because we're gonna try to be foolishly serious in this game, so feel free to do the same. I think that's my, like, suggestion. Kung Fu Fenris, have a great time LARPing. Good, reading aloud. Thank you. That's what we need. If you have any more questions, feel free to throw it into our Discord. Our RPGClinic Discord. Which, let's see. Oh, no, we don't have the bot right now. So I'm gonna say, let's, copy link. There we go. That goes straight to the Clinic Hours channel if you have any questions about today. And otherwise, thank you so much, Crosshair, for your mad montage. It's much appreciated. And hope you all have a wonderful weekend or week, or maybe we'll see you tomorrow for Punchy at 1800 Eastern, or Saturday for Drew Crew at 1500 Eastern. Otherwise, we'll see you Sunday at 1700 Eastern. Right here. Woo! Oh, and Aragwin, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the Mad Mods. We appreciate you muchly.
Catch you all on the flippity floppity.
Bye!